Look, I'm just gonna ask this question. I'm not gonna try to post this. I don't think so. I gotta make a document of this. I've been having these like theories for a while. Really, what this COVID is it's a sexually transmitted disease. That what they're doing is they're running people through these like subroutines where they're accusing them of terrible things. And I know I spent years, on the street being accused of bullshit, and I went through every fucking thing I ever did in my life and twisted it up to make it sound like I had done some horrible crime. And then I realized what it was is they were rationales for various financial paradigms that ended up actually getting applied via derivative for certain people's portfolios. And then once I started getting into the legal system, I realized a bunch of sick, depraved people that call themselves lawyers and paralegals and judges really made BDSM out of fucking people's court cases. And that they engage these scenarios of bondage, domination, and submission, I believe, with each other. I believe that there's some kind of weird, sick, kinky shit these guys in these secret societies and bar associations go through. And if you're not that kind of kinky, then you might have a certain court performance than if you are. And, it's kind of played out and panned out for a while. And now you got all this litigation, and you got all these medical records, and you've got all these people selling the medical records, especially the ones that were set up since the beginning of the Affordable Care Act, because the term is over. And so they've been using these records and anonymizing them for all kinds of R&D for all kinds of stuff, but also as rationales for people's financial portfolios. And that what's really going on in some way is that somebody justified making a biological weapon out of this kind of sextortionate racket. And part of what's going on is you're accused of something and then you're supposed to pay it. You get accused of a crime and you gotta pay a ransom or you gotta pay a penalty. And part of the way they want you to pay is by fucking masturbating or by having sex. And if you're conservative, or if you're somebody that actually did engage in some sort of sexual exploitation in the past, and, was never held accountable for it, then there's ways that they're selectively targeting you. And the weird part, though, is when people are quarantined. If you're targeted and quarantined for this kind of a fucking STD, how are you supposed to fucking pay your tax? How are you supposed to pay the fucking fee if you're in a fucking facility being quarantined? Were you supposed to, like, dip in the bathroom? Are you supposed to do it in the shower? You're supposed to do it in bed? Like, hopefully nobody's looking while you're in bed? Kind of like some fucking weird, sort of like sneak it in kind of thing. Who the fuck's watching this shit? And these guys, what the fuck sick kind of depraved people are providing so-called medical care for people that are being fucking forced on command to masturbate as part of some sort of fucking STD, like some inverted STD situation. I think that's just really going on. And I think for some people, it's supposed to be like, just do it and get through it in order to like normalize people into accepting this as a fucking legitimate modality. They've been trying to roll out this commercial sexual economy for a long fucking time. And the thing is, they were totally dishonest about it, and they didn't fucking apply any appropriate boundaries. So when they're enjoying the energy on the grid, they did it inappropriately. And then you got people using like this like political retaliatory stuff. I'm not going to mention any names. Okay, that there's, somebody literally at one point in time proposed a masturbation tax as a form of what was supposed to be political gamesmanship, but I think they actually applied it. And I think other people actually applied it as a form of political retaliation. And it was actually women that proposed it against men that were political opposition. And the thing is, not all women, even leftist women, okay, even socialist women, regardless of the other potential political persuasions, are going to be excited, titillated, or feel in any way politically empowered by sexually humiliating a man. It just isn't very practical, and there doesn't seem to be any actual purpose served. If you're trying to stop sexual exploitation, engaging in policies of sexual exploitation of political opposition serves the complete contrary purpose. And I'm concerned that this has gone too fucking far. That when they did that thing with the CDC in 2017 and they flipped the numbers on STDs that were afflicting black women to white women as a way to actually engineer a certain kind of compulsion for white women to perform in a manner that then allowed resources to be redistributed. You know, that somehow because there had been a disproportionate targeting of African American women for this particular kind of experimentation regarding sexually transmitted diseases, that it was time for white women to pay their part and for white women to have to be subjected to that. Is this part of, like, you know, humility through humiliation scheme? But the thing is if you're celibate for a period of time, including you don't masturbate, then you realize you can see what it is. And you don't need to actually do that. And even if you're, I mean, I've told people 2 years ago, stop it. Stop it. The boundaries are like, we know better. You know, if you don't stop by a certain time, they're going to know. I said this. If you don't stop and becoming 100% celibate, and we don't actually address this, it's going to get out. It's going to be known. You're going to pass the point of no return. But the problem is in the interim, you've got these other people that tried to flip it. They've had this long-term policy for using a sexually transmitted weapon as a politically inclined biological weapon. This is part of what I've been trying to report in one manner or another. It's hard to say and to articulate, but as time goes on, apparently nobody's saying what's obvious. We're being shamed into self-quarantining because if you're being called upon and sexually extorted to masturbate on command, to pay a tax, or to engage some sort of a commercial stream, I mean, it's a lot easier when you got your own room than if you're at the hospital. So how long are we supposed to be forced into our houses so that we're dinged and compelled to comply with using our sexual bioenergy to pay into this extortion? Are they literally triggering people's biological impulses to be manifest some sort of symptom of being sick, and or trying to compel people to go get medical treatment, to get hits on health insurance, or to be distributed a vaccine as a way to extort them in connection with or in lieu of actually performing sexually as a way to transfer biological energy that's used to move commerce? This has been developing for years. Nobody's talked about it. Nobody's been honest about it. There's all kinds of policies that have been implemented. There's all kinds of other things that have been done that make that they're that awful. Okay? And I think a lot of this Russian hacking shit was just that. And I think a lot of the closed door sessions that were exclusively Democrat, that, you know, I think that's part of what it was. That we've, you know, come into this era where we're supposed to be normalized and inured to the crypto economy, including sexual digital economy, and we're supposed to participate on command. And now there's a big transfer of assets and they want us to pay for it. And certain people seem to be getting off on it, like literally. But what if you don't want to? And what if you don't want to do these sort of things? Are people literally being sexually extorted? Is this what this is? Are people literally being told that they're sick? And are people literally manifesting some sort of symptom because they either don't want to masturbate, or because the humiliation that's going into the manner of the way that they're being targeted is so severe that even if they agreed to masturbate, they're too ashamed to actually do it? I know this is a horrible, terrible thing to say, but I've spent the last 10 years in one form or another navigating this. And a lot of that, you know, they'll throw whatever kind of accusation at you. If you're actually a fucking child molester, I mean, that's the thing. You got to deal with that. You got to deal with that, right? It's going to be dealt with. But how many other people are just being compelled to perform on command? How much longer do they expect us to be in our houses on lockdown while the police and the people in the bureaucracy say shit that doesn't even make any sense? You know, it doesn't make any sense, except that what it is that's actually happening is supposed to be so shameful and so humiliating that nobody would dare talk about it. It doesn't make any sense that you can get arrested just for walking through the park unless you prove you're exercising. Unless this is really the kind of thing that you need to prove that you had an orgasm in order to confirm this transaction. And if you don't, you've got COVID. You've got coronavirus. You want to argue with us? You want to argue? You need to take a test. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really that ridiculous. And I mean, here's the thing. I mean, will they kill you for not masturbating? Will they kill you for not confessing that you molested a child if you didn't actually molest the child? I'm asking. Because apparently they said people have died. They said a lot of people have died. You know? And how many people died because they had a sexually transmitted disease that they did not acknowledge? Right? How much of this is actually not only a biological weapon and a bioterror attack, but a sexually based bioterror attack? I think that's what we're dealing with now. I think that's literally what this is. And, if you're somebody that agreed to engage recklessly in a digital economy that also included interfacing with transactions that were age inappropriate, and you knew and thought you'd just make it business as usual, and at some point, it wouldn't matter because everybody would be normalized to it, then, that's one thing to deal with. You should have been we should have been talking about these things. We should have exposed these things. People should have been held accountable. But if if you weren't and you're experiencing this, then you need to be able to talk about it boldly. There's no fucking reason why this country or the rest of the world should be locked in their houses for the next couple of months and forced to perform sexually and or be potentially subjected to sexual violence because people who will be triggered to perform think that they are entitled to go ahead and do it. And if the person they're locked down and engaged in some sort of like cabin fever scenario with doesn't want to listen to them say no when they keep getting dinged, which I'm scared is what part of what's going on. I'm scared that the reason they have the abortion clinics still open is because those people know exactly what's going on. They knew that this was a time when there was going to be a transfer of assets and certain people, and I'm sorry, but I think it's a very racial and a very hyper-fetishistic manner in which these particular people are intended to be activated, that they're actually got people that are feeling like they are entitled to engage in sexual activity as compensation, as a way to confirm transactions that might be leveraged for deals that they've already hooked up, and now's the time to confirm so that they can get something later down the pipeline, as a way to coach or train somebody about how to be a part of a new business, about incorporation and maintenance and appropriate commercial activity in accordance with establishing and maintaining a business practice. This has already been set up. This has already been going on one level or another. If you've been homeless and on the street, you know about it, right? This is the normalization of the street economy. It's been going on for the last 10 years at one level or another. But who's going to acknowledge that if that's what's happened to you? If you've literally been in a situation where you start to manifest physiologically feelings of an illness, and then something's telling you, well, masturbate, and then you're like, and then you start, and then all of a sudden you get freaked out because you're like, what the fuck is this? And then you get some image, and you're like, no, I'm not that does not excite me. Do you get sick? Are you still sick if you stop? I'm just asking. This has really been something that I've experienced. I don't believe that there are other people that didn't. I think I'm calling it out. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I'm okay with that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But what if I'm not? What if that's exactly what this is? What if there are actual sex terrorists that infiltrated the health department and the medical sector and are sexually extorting people into providing their life essence and engaging in higher level spiritual contracts by agreeing to particular kinds of sexual activity and sexual communion, which may also be about processes of genetic engineering, which may also be about processes of financial commerce that are intending to commit them to long-term relationships, including with corporations that have no expectation of actually providing them with compensation or acknowledging it as a way to condition people to acquiesce to sexual activity on command with who you're supposed to have that sexual activity with, regardless of whether or not you want to. And they're so far in, and it's so completely dishonest and dishonorable that they will literally contrive a false paradigm saying that it's about a health problem when it's not. Now, I make room for the fact that there might be people that enjoy it. There might be people who are like, yeah, I got the COVID. I got the COVID, I got the coronavirus, and then you get online, or you think about somebody that you think's attractive or hot, and you're like, yeah, I want some of that. I think that that's part of this too. I really do. But then, that's completely unacceptable. Just so you know, I'm immune. It's like you guys I've spent the last 10 years developing an immunity to the coronavirus. COVID 19 is based on COVID 18. I already took care of that. I'm okay. Okay? But I'm not gonna sit by. If anybody else is actually experiencing what I just described, do you have a right to call it out for what it is? You're not crazy. They're sex terrorists. This is sex terrorism. And they thought they could get away with it because they spent the last 10 years, last 20 years actually, using this as a form of terrorism at one level or another. I mean, this is a part of somebody's national policy. This is part of gamesmanship on a large level. It goes back a long, long way. It's that stuff we're not supposed to talk about. It's supposed to be confidential. Rape, including electronic rape, is never something you have to keep confidential. Now, if you're not actually physically raped by somebody, don't say you are. But if you're being electronically sexually terrorized into performance, or they're trying to make you manifest symptoms of some sort of physical illness, I consider that rape. I also consider it terrorism. It's sex terrorism. They're sex terrorists that are using a biological weapon specifically designed to target certain genotypes and to try to compel you to agree to, concede to criminal activity. You do not have to keep quiet. You do not have to pay their tax. You do not have to pay their ransom. And you don't have to acknowledge any so-called healthcare professional or any other professional that tries to make you lie about being electronically raped or terrorized. Okay? So, find a way to get me. I'm going to find a way to post this. You don't have to take it. Okay? I'm immune, and I'm pretty sure that if you didn't really do it, you didn't really do it. Don't let them compel you to think you did. If you want to do this sort of thing, don't ever look at my fucking video again, because I'm going to know if you try fucking jacking off on my face. I'm going to know. I knew today. I did. Did you like it? Did you like that? Oh, I'm sorry. It's this way. Yeah, you liked that, didn't you? It doesn't have any effect on me. Okay? I'm not ashamed. I'm not upset. You're not fucking with me. What you're doing is you're revealing who you are. And you don't have any right to do that to anyone else. So just stay away from me, okay? Go fucking try to COVID somebody else. Because you're going to find you have fewer and fewer and fewer options until you got none. In the meantime, if you're being sexually extorted, you don't have to fucking take it.